welcome back to the Hawkins Do You Copy podcast. My name is Lauren.
And my name is Emily, and in this podcast we talk about all things Stranger Things.
You may have noticed that we have had a couple of little tiny impromptu breaks and our uploading schedule has changed a little bit. And that was because of some health things, which business which has been not a fun time. So we decided today that to just chill, take it easy, just sit here and have a chat to you all, just have a general discussion about our hopes for season 4 of Stranger Things, because I think we can speak for everybody when we say this hiatus is lagging in it.
It's been a bit of time, isn't it? I mean, I know global pandemic, get it, whatever.
But you know,
I'm now terribly impatient, and I would like even just a smidgen of something,
just a tiny bit of information.
Pictures of someone or a family or just something.
That would be great. That would be really great. So yeah, so we thought we'd just have that chat with you all today about our hopes for season 4 of Stranger Things this year.
Before we get into that, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and Stitcher, and YouTube at Hawkins Do You Copy. And you can find us on social media at Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Hawkins Podcast, and Tumblr at hawkinsyoucopy.tumblr.com. Check us out on all the platforms. Why not buy stuff at 1 when you can go to 4?
Literally catch them all. Do you know,
like Pokemon?
It is like Pokemon. Come and catch them all, because otherwise, what's the point if you can't get? I don't know what I'm trying to say. What's the point if you can't have followers on every platform?
This feels like a real self-depreciation.
This is literally just
like, what's the point? What's the point?
But no, genuinely, come hang out with us on all social medias. That would be fun. Send us messages, send us asks, podcast ideas, anything you want us to talk about. Go do that. Super fun. But for now, Stranger Things 4. What do we want? What do we want from Stranger? I mean, I know what you want.
I mean, first of all, I want the season. That's what
I would just want the season. Yeah, that would be really nice. We would have had it by now.
Point, yeah, we don't need to talk about the fact that it would have been out, and we would have known if characters had actual roles this time. But no, I think my main thing, it's just to clarify, it's 3 minutes into the recording. My main thing that I would like is a Will Byers storyline. Thank you very much.
That would be really nice.
But what I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna justify why. Why. So season 1, we didn't really see him. Plot
Vanishing of Will Byers.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That he kind of uses a plot device to get the show moving, whatever. Season 2, iconic, classic Will Byers time.
Brilliant.
Fabulous, all of the things. I know that there are some people online that are like, he was using the plot device in that as well. I say no.
No, I don't think he was. And my favourite thing about season 2 is when Matt and Rostafa were like, we didn't even know Noah could act because he wasn't in season 1 really. And then he came into season 2 and we were like, oh, okay, cool. Like, yeah, phenomenal, brilliant.
Honestly. And you know, and what I really liked about that, actually, because I think a lot of people don't talk enough about Beyond Stranger Things.
No.
Either.
Good.
I remember,
good show.
Really good. There was one episode of that. I think it was Natalia, Noah, and Millie, classic trio. And there was one quote I think Natalia had made when she was talking about how like Elle and Will were kind of like never in the same room, and how whatever one was in the upside down, one was in reality, and it switches. And then I remember this one thing, I think was it Millie that made a comment about how oh, maybe Will is like the evil version of Elle or something like that. And Matt and Ross's faces were just like a picture. And so we go into season 3 thinking, oh my god, it's gonna happen. Fabulous. And he doesn't have a storyline. So
He was the something of 11. He was the something opposite of 11. And I think that's
one had all the storylines and one had nothing. Complete opposite.
yeah. And also, you know, got a bit of a classic little triangle going on, which I think might end up in season 4 as well.
This is stressing me out.
Really stressing me out, but I can see it happening. And
I'm gonna go with the basis of, I know that there are multiple opinions on the 3 of them, so I'm going to keep it as neutral as possible, because actually whatever stance you have on it, if you ship certain things or you don't ship certain things, the storyline will remain the same.
we're not here to judge. We're not here to judge what anyone ships. Like, literally, shipping drama should have died in like 2008, whatever it was. Like, it just, let's just not have shipping drama. Let's just talk about potentials, because it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter to the storyline, and there's definitely things that are going to annoy me, but like, let's not shout at each other because of shipping.
That was really well said.
Thank you very much.
My concern is, so yeah, no matter what side of it you are, my concern is we're going to get to season 4 and we're going to have a complete rehash of season 3, because it's interesting that we're going to have Elle and Will now together, and this is very like the first. I know that obviously we have season 3, but they said like one line to each other. But in this situation, they're kind of put in a position where they have to get along.
Yeah, and they're not going to. They're not going to.
I don't think
I will be amazed if we go into season 4 and Elle and Will are like best friends. Like, I just don't think it's gonna happen. I feel like Will is annoyed at Elle for lots of different things and is feeling a lot, and I think Elle is also going to be feeling a lot and is also not going to understand why Will could be potentially annoyed and what's going on there. So, you know, it's like, oh, we're brother and sister now, and it's gonna be, I want power siblings, like superpower siblings, Will and Elle, and the season's not gonna start with that at all.
The thing is with that, I don't hate the idea that they don't like each other.
No, like, I think it's realistic. I think it's actually a realistic thing, and I definitely think there would be something there. So no, I'm not mad about it.
No, I think, but my issue is, back to Will Byers. My issue is, I don't want his storyline to be just kind of like, I'm alone again.
Yeah,
they're ignoring me. Fun. And I think, for example, I think it's pretty much expected at this point that at some point Mike is going to end up wherever the Byers are. I feel like everyone collectively has come to this conclusion that there is no way that they're going to keep Mike and Elle separate.
Don't we also know about like who's filming at certain times as well? Like, we don't know ins and outs of where and when, but like, filming schedules seem to suggest who's filming with each other, and also the table read suggests who's with each other, because I think Finn was sat with Noah and Millie and Winona and Charlie, so
yeah,
rather than like Gaten and Caleb. So yeah,
so he's gonna end up there at some point. There is part of me that is like, I don't really want him to go.
No.
And I know it sounds weird, and I know that it's going to be done for a reason, obviously, and I mean, ultimately I'm going to be happy about it. And I know, like, I'm moaning now, but it'll come to it, but like, yeah, give me content. But I don't want him to go there really early, because I just really want to see how Will and Elle get along and how they talk and how they make it work. And I want their storyline. I want a Byers family storyline first, and then maybe Mike can like go in at episode 8. I don't know.
Yeah, like the final episode. He's just like, hello.
Yeah, I just want them to have a storyline without him.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, Will in season 3, it was very much my friends are ignoring me. I'm going to take it out on Mike, essentially. And then Will doesn't talk to anyone really, like apart from tiny little lines.
Yeah.
And that's only because he has to. And then Elle's entire storyline, I know it's kind of about coming to find herself, but so much was with Mike as well. Yeah. But then also really Mike, I want him to have his own storyline more than anything. That is what I want, for him to have a storyline outside of those two, and maybe even something more with the party.
Maybe, perhaps, maybe, perhaps Mike might even, it's high school now. High schools are full of, clubs, extracurriculars. Perhaps he'll join one of them. Who knows? Who can say? We know Dustin's joined a club.
Yeah, we do know maybe, Dustin's joined a club.
Yeah. Only Dustin, we've had that confirmed. So, maybe Mike will also join a club.
Maybe Mike will join a club.
Perhaps. We will see. Perhaps. This episode is not sponsored by Sprite. That just looked like a real product placement.
That did look a bit like a product placement, actually.
It's not sponsored by Sprite. I just need a drink.
But no, I think, like, in terms of Mike, though, if you think about that, in season 1, he was kind of like lead guy, arguably. Season 2, his storyline then became, I'm missing Elle, but also I'm still kind of Mike, and like dealing with everything going on with Will. But then arguably, it was still around, it was still around those two characters. And in season 3, I just feel, for me personally, I don't really know what Mike was doing in season 3. Like, to me, his storyline was, I would need to apologize to Elle because I'm her boyfriend.
It is interesting though that like he's always been surrounded by those two. Like season 1, season 1, Will is lost. He finds Elle, looks after Elle while looking for Will. Season 2, Elle is lost, dead, whatever he thinks she is. He doesn't think she's actually like died. So he's looking after Will while missing and trying to find Elle. And then, he's always been surrounded by those two. But I feel like in season 3, that was just completely consumed. And it was like, he is Elle's boyfriend. That's who he is now.
It was great to see him interact with Lucas. I'll say that. But then even his interactions with Lucas were to do with, these are our girlfriends. And I don't know. It was just... It would
interesting,
be nice,
though.
Yeah, like, it would be nice to kind of like see more with Lucas as well, actually. I want to know, because the more I think about it, actually Lucas is in a similar position. Because what did Lucas do in season 3, really? Like, I mean, obviously, iconic moment at the end with the fireworks. To be honest, that was kind of like, it was Lucas was back again. But the majority of it was, Max broke up with me, and here's how you can get Elle back. And I don't know. I feel like we're going on like a hating season 3 discussion again.
Basically, what we want from season 4 is for it to not be season 3. Thank you for listening to episode 29.
I've run out.
But no, genuinely, it would just be nice to see more of the characters and to see more of kind of who they are and what they're dealing with. I think we're going to see, I hope we see Max dealing with everything and every sort of the aftermath, because I think that that's going to be really important, and I think that she's going to be struggling with a lot. Obviously, we have that scene where she sat on the bed at the end of season 3, and I think no matter what you think of Billy, and Billy is not a nice guy, but I think we did have that sort of jump where she was then like, I see him more as a brother now. And there was that jump. So she is sort of having that loss, and there is sort of dealing with things. So I am interested to see that, and I do want there to be character progression within like themselves rather than with each other, and then trying to sort of figure that out. Like we said, no matter what people ship, which way you ship it, what's going on. I do think that there might be a little issue with Mike going to the buyers. And I just don't want Elle and Will's entire relationship and like sibling bonding to be based on that.
Like, even outside of shipping though, I still don't want it to be that.
No.
Like, I don't. There's so many things that they can bond on. Like, think about their experiences in the Upside Down. Even you've got all of that going on. She could see him in the Upside Down, especially if we like leave the comics as well, when he could see like an astral projection of her. He speaks to her while he's there, and there's so much they have in common.
Yeah.
Outside
of Mike.
And I don't want it.
The relationships and the friendships and everything around that make it, which is why I think I'm so like, please do this right and don't make this some weird little love triangle thing. I just don't you know,
it's just
what I want to know is what I really want to see, and are we surprised? Joyce Byers, very much just Joyce Byers and what she's dealing with, and just how she's doing, because I just don't think she's processing a lot of things. She's also, you know, we can probably assume based on the Murray phone call at the end and the voicemail and the fact that Hopper is alive, that, you know, she might be trying to find him. So, you know, is she aware that her son and her now adoptive daughter don't like each other? Is she aware of the reason why they might not like each other, if that is the case? And how's she doing? How's Joyce? I'd like some nice Joyce content in this season, please. I'd like Joyce Byers
how's she also doing? You finish first.
No, just Joyce Byers. You know, you can just assume at any moment I'm thinking about Winona Ryder. So
there we go. And also, like, how's she also doing with the fact that her other son is doing other things?
Yeah, his new best friend.
His new best friend, Argyle. Did she know about that as well? Is she aware?
Yeah.
Basically, the Byers are having a time.
They are having a time. I feel like the Byers' house is going to be an interesting time. But I am excited about it. There was also on the table read, it is thought that the guy that plays Lonnie was there. So is that flashbacks? Does he come into it? Is there going to be a, you know, what's that sitch? That'll be interesting. But yeah, you're right. The Byers are just having a time. They're just having a time.
I mean, but would it be Stranger Things if the Byers weren't having a time? Because I don't think it would be. Because I think ultimately that's the theme of the show. Let's just make the Byers have the worst time possible.
It was like that time when Sean Levy was like, yeah, we're going to give Will a break in season 3. I was like, if this is a break, if this is giving Will a break.
Oh, honestly, like the trailer, I remember it so clearly. That was the quote. And then the trailer, and the first thing they show of Will is him crying inside Castle Byers. I thought, okay, great. We're not kids anymore.
We're not kids anymore. That line haunts me. Like, that line, like, literally haunts my mind every time we make a podcast. And Emily is better at technical things, so Emily does the audio version and I do the videos. So when I go on Netflix to, you know, have a look at what I can include in a video, every time I open Stranger Things, it plays the trailer for the most recent season, which is season 3. So every time I click that show, all I hear is, we're not kids anymore. like over the top of Barbara O'Reilly, which is one of my favorite songs, and it's just been ruined because of Mike Wheeler. So
there we go. Also, what we should bring up with Joyce as well. So recently, I say recently, I think it was like a month ago or two, boxes were sent out to some people online. I don't know how it was chosen. I think it was people with biggish platforms.
Wasn't us.
Whatever. No,
it's fine.
Yeah, a bit rude, but whatever.
Yeah.
We sent boxes, and it was, what was inside? I think you had some Matryoshka dolls, some newspaper. I keep looking at this. Some Matryoshka dolls, some newspaper, and some little hints as to possible things that could be happening in season 4. And one thing that did come up actually was there was a phone call.
Yeah.
So it was a number you could ring the
you
number.
could call the number.
Yuris Fish Bar, something like that. But what I found more interesting, I didn't realize, it's also within the papers you could find. There was circled, letters circled, which spells out Enzo's.
Yeah.
So that suggests then is Hopper trying to send her a message, because I think it says Yuri is like it's like a go-between, like a smuggler, or that was his
maybe Yuri's Fish Bar, right? Maybe Yuri's Fish Bar is like a portal.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
Maybe it's like a portal to rush, like to where he is, because we know that from the like mall lab bit, he went through the little, the gate, and then has somehow ended up in Russia, right? But what if Yuri's Fish Bar or connects to that, and they can go from place to place? So he is taking Hopper like messages like through, like you said, he's like a smuggler, and that could explain why they could go there, but they don't have to like fly to Russia, because they can go through the little portal.
And why they don't just have to be like, okay, right, we'll see you later.
Just gonna fly to Russia now. Portal. What if it's a portal?
I never thought of that. But also, strangely makes sense.
Yeah. You heard it here first. If it's a portal. But
we'll find out about 5 years.
It could work. It could be a portal. And it could show that maybe the Russians that were exploring the gate and all of this stuff have a bit more understanding of how to get from place to place.
Yeah.
Portal, alternate dimensions. Time travel. We've said about time travel and clocks, and
I am starting to think time travel is going to be a thing, and the more I think on it, the more I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think we've said this before, that it needs to be done correctly. So right.
Yeah.
And I would like it if it was in the sense of not to bring up not Philosopher's Stone, not to bring up Prince of Azkaban. I don't know if that's a kind of, well, then it would be kind of the time travel. If I'm going with my wonderful Will Byers theory that he has more connections with Mind Flayer than we think, that would be Prison of Azkaban kind of style, that it can't be changed, it's just a constant loop. But I would kind of like it actually if I think that if you could go back and mess things up and change things slightly, and that's why certain things work out the way they do.
Yeah, they could go down.
I think a lot of people are expecting this point, and to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the case, because they're not going to want to waste time. But season 5 is going to be filmed pretty much as soon as season 4 is done. It's something that's been floating around a lot. I don't know quite how true it is.
These kids are also supposed to be 15, and most of them are now adults, so they need to.
Which isn't the end of the world. I mean,
no.
But
yeah, at least Stranger Things started with actual kids.
Honestly, it's just, but you know what I mean. That so it does make you wonder then if they are going to flow into one another. I stand by the idea that I think it's going to be season 4 is going to end on a cliffhanger.
Oh, it will, yeah.
Season 5 is going to continue. So that is how time travel could work, in a sense, I guess. So something happens in season 4, gets to the just before season 5 situation, and it's like, oh, we've messed this up, or I don't know, or something like that.
No, it could be. There's also obviously like the end game route of time travel where you go back and if you change something, it doesn't change that reality, it starts a new reality, which is just very confusing, and I wasn't particularly a fan of the time travel element of Endgame. But that's neither here nor there. But they could do that. They could do the mess it up. You know, if you mess that bit up, then it messes up the future, sort of thing. But it just needs to be done right. I think time travel is a really tricky thing to implement in anything because there's not one right way of how to do time travel. You know, if in fiction, and it's obviously something that doesn't exist, and even people that do study it and try and figure out like how it could be potentially possible, it's not something which everybody agrees on. You know, it's do you have to have a machine to time travel back to, at which point you wouldn't be able to time travel past when the time travel machine existed, but then also like how on earth, but then if that's not the case and you can tap into different timelines to go back, how on earth would you ever be able to tap into a different timeline to travel back? You know, I think and having to sort of have the amount of power to travel through that is just insane. Like the concept of time travel literally is so unknown and such an interesting exploration that it's really easy to trip yourself up on it. And I don't dislike the concept of time travel. Like I read a book recently where it was done really well and I really, really liked it. But I just hope if they do go down the time travel route or this kind of parallel things and alternate things route, that they do it in a way that is right and not in a way that ends up like tripping themselves up. And then it's like, but that doesn't make sense.
The only thing I could think of how it could possibly work, and I say the only thing I could think of, I literally just thought of it right now, is that they're kind of already going down that bad route, and that if we believe in the upside down as the future kind of theory, I think people are thinking way off in the future, but maybe it's not really, and it's that literally just if they are, I was going to try and do it with my hands, but audio is not going to make sense. If they are, say, just if they're, so they're in the current time, so they're in, say, like 1983, 1984, 1985, and so on. The upside down then is kind of running parallel to that, but like a tiny step in front. So at some point they're going to meet because time will be getting almost like short, the gap will be getting shorter in each time, so they will come together and be like, okay, right, so this is now the bad route essentially, and this is what our future is going to be. So is it going to be time travel kind of in the sense then that not to happen is going to have to think that we'll have to in some way stop it getting to that timeline, and they would have to kind of, as you were saying, create that new reality then. And so it would, whereas at the moment it kind of can be stopped, they're also so intertwined right now that it can't be. So
is it inevitable? Is future inevitable? Exactly. Or is it changeable? But I do trust Matt and Ross, I think, and I do feel like they'd have thought that out because of sort of the things that they're interested in. No, you know, no shade to the Russo brothers who did Endgame, but like they didn't think that through. They didn't. I think lots of people would agree with me in that concept. They didn't think it through. They made choices for shock value, and it messed up. It messed up. So I would just like to think that, especially because they have had a little bit more time and they have seen how something as big as Endgame did create lots of opinions about time travel, because it was one of the most sort of adventurous explorations of time travel in big pop culture, you know, as of at the moment, you know. I would think that they'd like to do that, but just the clocks, the fact that there's so much clocks and in the thing, it could also be like the time like difference, you know, if you can skip to Russia it could also be that
Yeah.
if there is this little like portal.
Yeah, it could be that as well. But then actually, if
But
I think
yeah,
about it, if I go with my really absurd kind of the upside down is just slightly bit there, and we know that upside down electricity are kind of working on one thing that's kind of been a big mystery, especially if you read the comics, is that how on earth did Will actually get to the upside down in the first place?
Will has electrical powers confirmed. Like that is like a massive headcanon of mine, that Will can like mess with electrics. The fact that he can talk through the lights and the fact that he went in the lights, like I genuinely low key think that when the light shone really bright and he got to the upside down, that is very similar to the light in the explosion which takes Hopper to Russia.
That's what I was literally just going to say.
Literally very similar. But also, it makes me wonder if not that he knew he could do that, but if he accidentally took himself there to get away from the Demogorgon, because he couldn't protect himself from the Demogorgon. So it was like a sort of his own sort of like explosion, and it took him there, and that's why he could communicate via the lights and that kind of thing. Because I don't think it's the Demogorgon that makes that light shine bright, because Will then is the one that continuously does that with the lights.
It is, yeah. I'm going to go down the portal route. I think he probably does take himself there. I like the idea that,
but it is a portal there. But I think it is a portal. Yeah. But
I think it is, as you said, very similar to how Hopper gets to Russia in season 3. We kind of had that really bright, or even actually how even Elle gets to the upside down at the end of season 1, because the lights all go flickering, don't they? And then she's gone too. So it's almost like it's that massive power outage essentially that gets you there. So, and I don't know, it's kind of reminiscent of, it's very Back to the Future. If you think about it, with the lightning, and then that's how they get there. There you go, time travel confirmed. It's been there since season 1.
And then in season 3 there was literally Back to the Future, and they talk about why is it Back to the Future if he's going to the present.
Actually, what clip did they show of Back to the Future in season 3?
Isn't it the bit when they arrive back? He's like, we did it! Isn't it that bit?
Is it that bit?
I think
so. Something to consider in
if you're watching on YouTube, it will be included in the video. Because
it would just intrigue me if it's the bit where they get back, or if it's the bit as they go.
I think it's as they get back.
I never thought of that, actually. Yeah. We'll get back to you on that one.
Portal, electrics. There we go. Maybe we should do a whole episode on the electrical theory, because we've spoken about that a couple of times now, and I reckon we could go into a bit more detail, and we'd love to know your guys' thoughts on the electrical stuff. Like, send us your thoughts on social media, and then we can include that discussion if we do a whole episode on the concept of electrics and Stranger Things and powers, because I think Will's got something to do with the electric, and Joyce. I think
Will's got something. I wouldn't be surprised if it was something to do with, even if it's just like sensing the mind flow a bit more, and that gets developed a bit more, because I don't know why would they would include that and then get rid of it. And the fact, to me, that feels it just feels telling to me that that's going to be something in it.
Agreed. Completely agreed. Another thing that I am sort of interested in is there's a lot of new characters and a lot of new stuff going on in this season. There's a lot, but I am really looking forward, hopefully, to seeing more of like Steve and Robin and that kind of thing, and that group. I love them. I love Steve and Robin. That's like some of my favorite characters. But also, theoretically, well, not theoretically, we know Penhurst is a thing and the asylum is a thing, and there's things going on in the asylum, trying to figure out the asylum. And theoretically, if there was someone nearby in Hawkins perhaps who would be doing said investigating, wouldn't it be interesting if our local journalist Nancy Wheeler was involved? That would be an interesting discussion, and would like to see that. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
I'm actually genuinely intrigued to know what Nancy's going to be up to, because I think she's also fallen not so much as into the trappers, say Mike has, but it's very much just Jonathan and Nancy, and
Mm-hmm.
even though they have their own individual storylines, it's still Jonathan and Nancy. So
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued to see how that's going to work
Yeah.
in season 4, and I think I actually really look forward to seeing where Nancy's gonna
Me
go
too.
this season. I think
Me too.
it'd be nice to see her without Jonathan, and then similarly, it'd be nice to see Jonathan without Nancy.
Yeah. And how they sort of are their own as of,
If they work, who knows?
if they work, what goes on. With Penhurst though, we did sort of say, is it lab related? Is there shady stuff? We did have the idea that Victor Creel is number one, that he is the like evil guy that Will talks about in the Halloween comic, the Child's Eater.
I don't know. Something like that. I
Something
don't
like
really
that.
know.
And he
Don't have a
kind
clue.
of could be that, and then there's murders that's been carried out, but he doesn't know he did them because maybe he was really high on the drugs that they give you in MK Ultra. Who's in charge of MK Ultra in the area? Dr. Brenner. Who has not been officially confirmed dead? Dr. Brenner. Who was visiting cast members on set the other day? Matthew Modine. Who does Matthew Modine play? Dr. Brenner. So
Matthew Modine's comment on this. I feel like we'll talk about this. We will talk about this picture because it's the most ridiculous feeling I've ever heard in my life. So, I mean, not hiding anything. There was a set picture of Matthew Modine in his car. Um,
like as Matthew Modine,
yeah.
like not as Brenner. He is just Matthew Modine.
Yeah, and he was questioned about this, and a few things were said. He was like, "I'm in an undisclosed location, which I'm not allowed to say, and I'm somewhere," or something along those lines. And then went, "Oh, I was just in the area and thought I'd visit Millie."
In a panorama, Matthew, in the middle of a global panini, were you really? I do not think so. Coincidence.
So I think he might be back.
Yeah.
Possibly. I think it was very telling if he is back that he wasn't at the table read. Because
especially if Lonnie was.
Yeah. I will say with the Lonnie one, that was very much an eagle-eyed viewer thing. Yeah. So I don't think much attention was put in it. It was very much like, oh, it's you kind of thing.
Interesting that he'd be there and Matthew Modine wouldn't be there. That yeah.
The only thing I could think of is if it's a season 2 situation, because I'm sure that Millie didn't actually know he was going to be there that day.
In season 2, yeah.
Like that. Yeah, in season 2, and it was something like those emotions were kind of real.
Yeah, because she wasn't expecting to see him.
So I wonder if it's going to be one of those situations, in which case, well done paparazzi, kind of ruined that for everyone.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's much to think about.
Basically, I just want the buyers to be happy. I want to see some independent, cool characters outside of what they've sort of been part of for the last couple of seasons, and explore more of them. Characters I love so much. I just really want to see more of who they are, and in different environments and different situations. And obviously the kids are now in high school, and there's a lot going on, and I think there's going to be a lot of dynamic shifts and a lot of dynamic changes, and I think that's what I'm really excited to see. And I do think that season 4 is going to be a big, here's lots of answers as to what's going on. And I do think it's really telling that they've just dropped Penhurst as a whole massive thing, an investigation and a huge thing. Don't know, I find it quite interesting, and I think what I just really want is those characters to sort of have a different growth and just learn more about themselves, and we can learn more about them. And I would just quite like to see more of that.
Yeah, I'm similar, right? I think the thing I want the most is I want Will L dynamics.
really
wanted
badly.
that for years.
Power siblings, because it's always been signed up for them to be siblings, because Joyce and Hop have always had this are they, aren't they, you know? And when he adopted Elle, it was like, well, him and Joyce better get together and then they can be one family. So, you know, it's always been set up for that. They've always been not quite part of each other's lives, Elle and Will.
Yeah. That's the thing that I want the most. I want that. I really, as you said, I really want the characters kind of come into their own, and we see them as characters and interacting with people they don't necessarily interact with. Like, to be honest, I'm kind of also missing Mike and Dustin interactions. I'm missing that. I'd love to see that back. I want to see Lucas used more as a character. I feel like
I love Lucas.
Yeah, I said earlier about Will being sidelines in season 3, but if I think about it, I don't really know. I know who Lucas is, but I feel like since season 1, we don't really know who Lucas is as a character.
Yeah, I would like
to. I think it's a shame. I think it really is a shame.
It is. He's such a good character, and I think, you know, I saw a thing the other day about how he, like, the way he uses his intuition and the way that he's been able to sort of fight and who he is as a character. And I think, I really want to see more of that. I do really want to see more of that in season 4, because I do just feel like we haven't had a lot of that. And I think he's such a good character, and like you said, he's just not utilized for being such a good character, you know. Mike's always sort of like the leader, and everything always happens to Will, and Dustin's sort of like the comic relief. And I feel like we saw so much of Lucas in season 1, and we just haven't seen that much of him since, except for little snippets like the fireworks and stuff. So I would love to see more of Lucas and who Lucas is as a character as well.
Or Lucas. And I think I just
want Joyce Byers to be.
I just want kind of, I don't want to say season 2 and 1 vibes. I want season 2 and 1 vibes. I want that kind of almost a little bit more scary back. And like there were elements in season 3 where like, oh my god, ugh. And you know, there was that kind of thrill.
More gory though.
It was more gory. That's the thing. It was more gory, more
than creepy. Yeah.
And I kind of want that creepiness back, I think. And I don't know, I've kind of set up this idea of season 4 in my head, and I always sit here and like, oh my god, I'm ready for season 4. Season 4 is going to be great. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. And so I know that we're going to get to 10 years time when it's released. And I'm just going to be like, well.
Wasn't
I don't know.
I really want the creepy vibes as well. Like I really want those kind of like creepy, thrillery, like, oh, what's going on sort of vibes. What I don't want, and this is the last thing I'll say about Penhurst, I don't want it to be like, oh, it's an asylum, so everybody in the asylum has to be creepy. Because, and that's definitely from the perspective of like studying psychology and having degrees in psychology, that I just don't like the idea that, I think sometimes it can be done well, but I don't like the concept that like everybody in the asylum has to be like, I'm using this with like quotation marks because it's not what I mean, but like crazy and creepy because it's an asylum. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't want that. I don't want that to be what gives us those vibes, you know. I feel like you'd get more stuff from like, I mean, Eddie from the Hellfire Club like would creep me out more with the way that those things, do you know what I mean? So I feel like, please do the creepiness well, and don't do what everybody else does and do like a creepy asylum thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think mental health's a really kind of tricky one to do in TV shows. I think often, like I said, they do go down the creepy or use it as very much a plot device thing, rather than actually stick it in reality and focus on, okay, this is how the character is feeling. And I feel like there's so many things they can explore mental health wise, like, and
they already have, they've done so much, like with addiction and grief and PTSD.
But and I think those things can always be delved into, because I think also Joyce, Elle, Will, I'm not going to include Hopper for now because who knows what's going on in Russia. They've got so many things, and even Mike, actually. They've got so much. All of them. To be honest, all of the party have been through a lot, and I think
that is PTSD.
There was so much you could explore that. Yeah, exactly.
We don't need oh, there's crazy people in the asylum, it's spooky, you know, we don't need that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
and there we go.
that's hopes,
Basically,
thoughts,
don't make it creepy.
don't want for season 4. But I think that is it. I think that's what we all sort of talk about. Me and you talk about, like, off podcast, and the stuff that we sort of, especially the buyers, just living a happy life.
We're not going to get that. No. You know we're not going to get that.
No.
That's it. He's going to die. They're all going to die in season 4, and that's how it's going to end.
There we go. Thank you for listening to episode 29 of the Hawkins Do You Copy podcast.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher, and YouTube at Hawkins Do You Copy. And then you can find us on social media on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Hawkins Podcast, and Tumblr at hawkinsdoyoucopy.tumblr.com.
So until next time, you can come and chat to us on there, and we will see you next week. Over and out.
Hawkins, do you copy?